She dropped out to go to work and put bread on the table for her family. My father finished high school and worked in an auto plant, but after it closed down, he was unemployed and worked on minimum wage jobs. So my husband and I thought we had some progress. We had made some progress, that our daughter would make it into middle class. And now that my husband is disabled and is going to be raking up medical bills, I don't know what's going to happen.
Oh, I hope the town comes up with some substantial compensation. Your husband wasn't doing anything wrong, and it was a town employee who shot him.
Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it? But the town administration is pretty tight-fisted and will wind up suing, and a court case is a crapshoot.
I've got friends who are active in the League of Women Voters. I might be able to get them to help pressure the town.
Well, I can see you mean well, but I'm not hopeful. There's something that those white aldermen and mayor aren't ready to admit.
What do you mean?
Now, I'm sure that you're a nice person, and you won't like to hear this, but you listen to the news on TV and read the paper, so you know just as well as I do that some policemen have trouble with their trigger finger when they confront a black man.
Well, I understand what you're saying.
Do you now? And do you understand what happens when the white cop is accused or charged, and sometimes not charged? And even if he goes on trial, do you think that justice gets done?
Well, you know, white people tend to believe the word of a police officer, you know, his version of whatever happened.
Another understatement, Miss Nelson.
I suppose if there were a white witness who supported the black man's story, that would make a difference.
And how likely is that to happen?
I don't know.
Oh, God. What a week this has been.
I was just reading about the rally the Black Lives Matter people are going to have. Mrs. Lincoln, the mother of the kid in my class, is going to speak.
Just what I was afraid of. The agitators are having a field day, and my guys are going to have to control that crowd.
Without provoking them, I hope? We don't need any more shooting. Look, I've talked to Mrs. Lincoln. I don't think she wants any trouble, but I do think she wants to see justice done.
What justice? A police officer was doing his job. He saw a suspicious character pull out a weapon, so he fired first.
Mrs. Lincoln was talking with her husband on his cell phone just before the incident. He told her that he was in the neighborhood because he was taking a shortcut from the post office to the service station at 3rd and Elm. He wanted to get there soon because he'd noticed that his back tire was soft and that he wanted to get it fixed. And while he was talking to her, he realized that it had gone flat. He told her he needed to change the spare tire and hung up.
Of course she's going to say something like that. Some lawyer probably told her that she could get a big settlement from the town with a story like that.
Great. It's not a story. That agrees exactly with what I saw when I was walking back from Mercy's house.
You swore you were going to keep quiet about what you thought you saw.
I haven't told anyone except you. I didn't say anything about it to Mrs. Lincoln or anybody else.
Good. Let's keep it that way.
But you and I know that an innocent man, a government employee, a husband and father, in fact, the father of a kid in my class, did nothing wrong and got shot, and now he's very badly injured.
A black man in an old car cruises slowly in a white neighborhood, then stops and takes what appears to be a weapon out of his trunk. A conscientious police officer takes immediate action. That's what happened.
Look, let's not try this case in our living room. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just someone who would like to see the best and most peaceful outcome from a terrible accident. Greg, remember we were in high school and started going out together? You told me you wanted to be a cop. Remember why? You wanted to serve, to help the community, to make it a safe place for people to live and raise their families, remember?
Yeah, and that's still why.
But don't you see? It hasn't been safe for Mr. Lincoln.
Look, I'm sorry for the guy, but part of my job is to make sure the police force is held in proper respect, and to make sure that agitators don't cause trouble here.
You don't think Carl was a little too quick on the trigger?
Honey, you've never been on a policeman's beat. A cop is not a social worker or an investigator or a judge. His life depends on making instant decisions. I don't want the guys worrying about being second-guessed. They'll get killed if they hesitate. I don't want to be telling some cop's widow that he had to be sure the perp was guilty before he could fire.
We both want this thing to get settled without a lot more trouble happening. I don't think the best way for that to happen is on the street or even in the courtroom. Remember what they did in South Africa? Mandela held truth and reconciliation meetings where people told the truth about what they had done. And there were apologies, and there wasn't a criminal procedure or punishments. Just a chance for people to work through the pain of what happened.
Well, this ain't South Africa. Mandela's dead, and it looks like the street and the courts are exactly where it's going.
But everyone involved in this mess is intelligent and well-meaning. There must be a way that we can straighten it out.
Well, that's very nice and idealistic, but the real world is here.
Let's try to come up with something. It may not work, but it won't make things any worse than they are already. What if you and I had a private, totally unofficial meeting with Carl and Mrs. Lincoln, so each could hear the other's story?
Oh, I don't think the town's lawyers would buy that. Well, Carl's lawyer, he'll probably need one, listening to Mrs. Lincoln's story.
Okay, so let's make it clear to everyone that this meeting is totally off the record. Just 4 people chatting.
I don't think they'll come. And if they do, I'm afraid they'll be at each other's throats.
Well, that's a chance we take.
I thought you just wanted to work quietly in your studio downstairs.
I do. But for the moment, life seems to have other plans.
I'm going to ask you unofficially, off the record, not as your boss, to do something. It's totally voluntary, and if you say no, I'll understand, and there won't be any negative consequences for you.
Captain, I've never told you how much I owe you. So doing anything you ask is just a tiny repayment in my mind.
Well, what are you talking about?
Well, back in high school, I hung out with some nasty guys, and I smoked a lot of weed. I could easily have gotten into worse drugs. I think I was too lazy to do it. I was a rotten student. I had no idea what to do with life. Working in a factory or an office seemed unappealing. I fooled around with a guitar. I knew I wasn't going to be a real musician. I was just starting to drink a lot of beer and booze with the guys. I was a real mess. And then one day, you addressed the senior class and talked about police work, how it served the people and maybe a safe place for families to raise kids. It was like a door opened in a locked room I was in. Actually, a job that didn't require a college degree, of course. A job that was more than just grubbing for a paycheck. It who was actually doing something good in the world. So I started reading up what I had to do. I studied for that police exam like I'd never studied before. And I actually made it onto the force, all because of you. So, Captain, I owe you my life.
Well, thank you for the kind words, but it was your decisions and your determination that got you moving. And I think you've been doing a very good job as a patrolman.
Oh, thank you, sir. What did you want me to do?
Carl, this is about that incident with Mrs. Lincoln. You know, the Black Lives Matter people are having a rally on Friday, and Mrs. Lincoln is going to speak. Feelings are going to be running high, and we don't want a lot of disturbances happening.
I'll take the evening shift that day so I can help with crowd control.
No, I'm talking about something else. The way Mrs. Lincoln talks is going to have a big influence on that crowd. So there's been a suggestion from my wife, actually, that we have a private meeting with you and her so that she can get to understand your situation and what you had to do. So maybe she won't talk like the force is the Ku Klux Klan or something. So she'll see that you're not some bigot taking pot shots at a black man.
I've heard that doctors don't think he'll be able to walk again. She must really be shook up.
You got that right. And you'll have to keep your cool no matter how she may attack you. Stay respectful and take whatever she dishes out. When it's your turn to talk, you just tell her honestly what happened, how it happened, and why it happened. You have nothing to hide, and you did what you had to do.
Wow.
Remember, this is voluntary, totally off the record. I hope you'll agree to do it because it might help diffuse this mess, but it's your call.
But aren't you afraid that she'll go to the DA and spin whatever I say to make me look like the bad guy? Do I need to talk to a lawyer about this?
Well, this talk will take place only if all four of us, my wife will be there too, the Lincoln kid is in her class. If all four of us pledge absolute confidentiality, no notes, no recording, no quoting, as if the meeting never took place.
Well, as long as you're there, I'm sure it'll be okay. Yeah, count me in.
Do I look suicidal to you? That man stole my husband, who wasn't even doing anything. What's he going to do when I'm trying to put him in jail?
My husband's going to be there. I'm going to be there. Carl will be on his best behavior. I can assure you of that.
Well, good for him. I may be on my worst behavior. He crippled my husband.
That young man made a terrible, terrible mistake. But he's a human being, and all I'm asking is that you